the White House, President Eisenhower signs the proclamation that makes Alaska's entry into the Union official, nearly 92 years after Lincoln's Secretary of State bought the territory from the Russian Tsar for $7 million.
I just want to give a shout out before the show starts to all the sponsors, all the local businesses that have been coming through to help us out and get this thing started. Thank you to you guys.
Total Truck Accessory Center. Go check them out at 7700 Homer Drive. They're your one-stop shop for canopies, spray-in bed liners, LED light bars, and more. Total Truck.
TheTreehouseAK.com. Located at 341 Boniface Parkway. They're your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bartender today what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance. Cutting lawns, but not cutting quality. Hit them up at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also got a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out, doubleshovelcider.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located across from the 4th Avenue Theater in front of the historical building. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. Get yourself a legit reindeer dog.
Tailored Restoration, helping Alaskans restore their dreams. Voted #1 in the state since 1972. Water restoration, fire restoration, remodeling, cleaning, anything that you have to do with your home, inside and outside, give those guys a call or check out tailoredrestoration.com.
Ooh, the triple threat this time, huh?
Mine didn't pop like I wanted it to.
No, I think you got the messed up tab. There was like one of those that had a kind of a loose, whatever that's called.
One of them's actually missing this little tab. I almost just jabbed it with the knife.
It's can opener style?
Just go canna style.
Pop it with your thumb.
Just thumb it, yeah. We'll see how many of these we get down.
The triple shovel call.
Yeah, if you're wondering, we have a caribou call to start every show.
I see that.
That's what you were hearing there. Yeah.
I feel a little left out.
Yeah, we
had
need
to
to warn
show you
our
for
guests.
yeah.
I saw everyone else cracking beers. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
You cracked theirs early.
Well, you'll have to do a mid recording caribou call.
Yeah, all right.
Those are definitely allowed. So
Yeah, we'll pick up on those.
It
Well,
gives
welcome
us
to, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, it just gives us a heads up on if you've been listening to the show or not. So
Yeah, see?
That's
it's
true.
a tattletale.
been
Now we
telling you
know.
for months. I'm like, check us out, bro.
Welcome to another Alaska Wild Project podcast episode number 12. A couple things before we get started. Just a reminder on the Patreon. If you're not a Patreon member, you can go to our website, alaskawildproject.com. $5, $10 a month, whatever you can do. If you're a baller, put a little bit more. All that helps. Get these live events going and better cameras and better recording equipment and videos and stuff like that. You can also support us by going to our website and buying some of our really cool hats, water bottles that we just got in. If
Those are sick, dude.
the water bottles came out really nice. Everyone needs a water bottle.
Yep.
Heather's Choice, if you go to heatherschoice.com, promo code Alaska Wild, you get 15% off there. You can also find all that stuff on our website, the promo codes, the water bottles, the Patreon link, all those things. And a reminder, Dudes Day is June 19th from 12 to 6 at Double Shovel. I have a list of people that are coming. We're adding more vendors all the time. It's going to be a really awesome event. We're going to be doing live podcasts from there. Come get your Double Shovel ciders. Come get your last minute presents for your dad or your brother or your uncle or whoever, the dude that you're buying for, or for yourself if you're a guy. Most of us just buy what we want whenever we want it. So if you're looking for something cool, all the guys will be there from Barney's and Mountain View Sports.
Full curl.
Full
Oh,
curl.
did Mountain View come through?
Barney's,
Nice.
yeah. We got some
right
other
on.
people too.
Cool.
Still finalizing all the different people there, but they're going to be bringing all their stuff out there to sell and chat it up with them if you are looking to get some info on any of that gear and some of those cool items they got.
Yeah, you can techie nerd it out for sure. There'll be a lot of gear talk that day.
Yeah.
Yep. Doing the podcast and having guests on and talking about it. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, really fun. So before we get started with our special guest tonight, I wanted Jack to bring up, you were telling us about your little scare there, your little black bear story. I kind of wanted you to share that if you didn't mind.
And you mentioned, so you and I had a conversation earlier in the day, and I was like, hey, I need to get that GoPro. And you're like, all right, yeah, hit me with your address. I'll get over there, drop it off. I was like, all right, totally lost the day that day. I was prepping for my hunt and trip and doing my thing, and then it was until like 11 o'clock at night. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. And then that was the last I heard from you. So obviously you had a little something.
Yeah, I got distracted a little bit.
Needless to say,
all the other dads know that I like to bring the kids out and do a lot of hiking and skiing and stuff with them. I think it's important. So after school, instead of going and watching TV, we're out playing, and I usually include at least one other dad or family that wants to join. So that day we picked Kincaid. It was a nice sunny day, and Kincaid's awesome. And this time of year is pretty cool to hike there with the little kids, because the mountain bike single track isn't open yet, so you can cruise on that trail system without.
It's officially like closed.
Yeah, single track enthusiasts. Give them a shout to those guys. They're awesome, setting up all these trails around Anchorage. But anyway, they make sure that they go and close these trails off and make sure people don't use them so they don't tear up while they're soft. Your treads go through there, and you just rip these trails.
So they just put like a sign at the main entryway.
There's a sign, and they'll put like ribbons like "Do not enter" or rope across it and stuff. Yeah, and most people know.
But you can walk it.
Yeah, you can walk it. Yeah. So and those trails out there, they intersect all these other walking trails, and then the ski trails, and so there's just a lot of cool opportunity to get away from people out there. So we chose that one. We wanted to do a 5-mile loop. We had 3 4-year-olds and a 6-year-old with us, and we're cruising up. Kind of at this time we're about halfway through our hike. We're about 2.5 miles in, and it was getting time to probably feed the little kids. And we'd be, if you triangulated a position between the Middle Earth Trail and Beer Can Lake and the Bow Range. So it's kind of tucked in a corner that not a lot of people really use, except for the mountain bikers. It's just kind of an offset place. We don't see people over there. So we're over there, and we come up on this cow moose just chilling in the trail, and she's definitely pregnant. We want to give her some space. And but we're probably about 50 yards from her, and she didn't really care we were there. My dog was not barking at her or anything, and so I was like, all right, well, let's just have a picnic here. So we ate some food and watched her, and she's just, regular wildlife. She didn't seem distracted or upset, nervous or anything. Anyway, so I don't know, about 20 minutes into it, she kind of stood, something bothered her, so she stood up quick and kind of looked one direction, kind of quartering away from us, like a 2 o'clock kind of position. And so at that moment, through my mind, I was like, oh, she might have winded a black bear or something, And but then right away, we think her water broke, because it wasn't like a normal pee. It was like much more upright, and then the way that ass was, it just looked like there was a lot. She was like
she was backing that thing
her
up.
Rear, it was different, and then this big splash.
Oh wow!
Definitely different than like a normal pee would see.
Who can say they've ever seen that?
And so, but
and all the moose we've ever seen in Alaska is living here. Have you ever seen its water break?
No,
that's phenomenal.
I haven't caught that one.
So this is not verified, but
I'm just going to assume that happened because it's a really cool story.
It certainly seemed like it to me, and I need to go meet with a vet or something, or that's probably on YouTube. I'll YouTube it. But, anyway, so right after that though, she was kind of a younger cow, but she was obviously pregnant, but she had that lighter fur, and anyway, she bolts. That bothered her, because it was right when she was done doing that, she just bolts backwards. So kind of quartering towards us at this maybe 7 o'clock, and she got within about 10 yards of us. And so, and then she just seemed like something was bothering her, and we figured it, she's about to have a little calf baby or 3, and we should get out of there.
Yeah.
So the best way to go is follow the trail to where she was. We walk right by this pile of, this pond, because it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I was kind of looking at it, but the kids were getting a little ahead of me. So
Did you dip a finger?
I didn't do that. I didn't do the lipness test. Yeah. I wonder if there's like a cultural thing with that. Anyway, so we continued up the trail, and, I walked a little bit faster to catch the kids, and we're probably about 15 yards past that. And one of the younger kids was kind of like, "Oh, there's a bear," but they were just joking around. And then we were like, "Hey, the boy who called wolf thing, don't do that." And then I looked to my right, and there's a black bear, about 15 yards away.
Way close.
Yeah,
way
and
close.
my boy and then Brandon, Carl's boy, were between us and the bear. So right away it was like Pax, Henry, bear behind us, and so they got behind us, and the bear was just looking at us at that time. But as the boys moved behind us, the bear started coming straight towards us. So both Brandon and I got big. And a little
at it and stuff.
A little backstory here too. I'm very cautious with bears. Like I would be the most bear scared person in a group usually. And bear scared means to me, like I'm bringing bear spray or I have a gun, and then I'm more comfortable. And just like really cautious. So even in these Kincaid hikes, I always have bear spray. On my bike, I have the bear spray water bottle mount on all my bikes. My rafts, every one of the seats has, and my drift boat have a little baggie with bear spray in them. So I always have bear spray. Well, when I was about 100 yards from my house pulling away, I realized I didn't have bear spray, and I didn't turn around to get it.
Oh, one time.
And I realized it, and I was like, "Oh, Brandon probably has it.
good.
We're good. We're in Kincaid. This will be fine."
Yeah.
And also, just full transparency, I'm one of the people, along with my little brother, that has kind of always wanted to bear spray a bear. Because I want to see if it works.
Yeah,
I don't want to
that work?
hurt an animal. I do not want to do that. But if there's a person in the group that's going to have to do it, I want to be that person.
Just to see the result.
I
Just
want
to know,
For science.
does this shit really work? Like, should I be carrying this extra weight around if it doesn't work?
Right. Or do I need to carry a 44 when I have 4-year-olds? Like,
Yeah.
This isn't like a hurting an animal thing. It's
Right.
like, I want to know
figure
if
it out.
this is the right protection. You read about it. It's supposed to be the best deterrent. And of course, you don't want to hurt an animal. But yeah, I mean, if it's coming at you, you kind of want to get it away. So back to the story. So neither Brandon and I have that. I always wear a belt. Didn't wear a belt that day. I usually have a knife. Did not have a knife that day. So just totally unprepared. And Brandon was in this. Luckily, we were such old friends. We grew up together, and I was the best man at his wedding. There's a lot of good nonverbal communication here. We've spent a lot of time in the outdoors. So right away, I was the closest dad. So the kids, all 4, got behind me, and they listened well. We got real big. The bear stopped at maybe like 10 yards, and then we looked at each other, and it was like obvious. Hey, I'm gonna back up. You stay put. So I started backing up, and then the bear would come closer to Brandon. So then I would go forward. We're screaming. We have our backpacks above our heads. And it kind of stops a little bit, enough that Brandon can get a little bit more space with me holding still. And then I just keep moving backwards every time it stops. And then every time it came forward, I would try to move forward, and Brandon would just be screaming, but he was holding his ground. Like, he was a very brave dude. Because there's a point there where if the bear comes, we had to make a decision, who's leaving with the kids.
Yeah.
And it was obvious, like, how we had made that decision at the beginning, that was going to be me, and I was going to have to leave my friend,
Was he aware of that decision that was non-verbally made?
He was absolutely aware of it.
Yeah.
Well, he was on the front line. He was just handling business and trying to get that bear out of there, right?
He was very aggressive. He moved towards the bear when the bear was close. Within 30 feet.
Yeah.
For sure. So that kind of game went on for about 10 minutes. We were able to get Brandon more space, and he was able to get me a lot more space, to the point where whenever the bear would come towards us, it came towards us aggressive, but not charging. And it was definitely interested in us. It deviated off its path towards us. because the bear trail it was on was like 90 degrees to the trail. Yeah, so as we got Brandon further away, every time it would come, then I had enough room to like really push forward. And then eventually there was a hill, and we were able to get under it and then move fast.
Got it.
So
out of the sight.
Yeah. So as soon as I got under the hill, Brandon was like, "I'm good." So then I got the kids down the hill, and then Brandon was able to get out of sight and then come down quick. And then we went up, crossed the road, and then kind of came back on the other side. So
did it follow you guys up the hill?
No. We got around that and never saw it again. So that was a good deal.
Scary.
Yeah.
Rattled you guys pretty good.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Do you think it was maybe sniffing that water?
I think so.
It definitely was coming up after the cow, I think. But I mean,
maybe it thought like it was about to have its baby.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm patiently waiting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the actual science behind it, but I know that there's like a time of year where black bears especially will follow a cow around for days on end because they can smell whatever's permeating off that cow, whatever fluids are leaking or whatever's going on. They know if they just linger around this thing long enough, they're gonna get a meal out of it. And that'd be my guess, is that it was, just waiting for that calf to fall out of there, or calves.
There's got to be a really, and I've read it before, I don't remember the percentage, but it's really high percentage of the predation that happens right when they're born.
Yeah.
Like wolves and bears and are just following after these things, coyotes and stuff like that. And as soon as, they pop out of their mom, they're all wobbly legged, and the mom's kind of suffering.
They're helpless.
And that's just the time that, these predators just get after. I want to say it's crazy, like 70%. I wonder if you could look it up actually and see what the predation percentage rate is on that. I'd be interested to know, but I know it's really, 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 really high. And that's how like some of these wolves just follow around like the 40-mile caribou herd and all that stuff, especially around, birthing season.
Right.
Yeah.
The other really interesting piece was how there's two things. So one, I have this Labrador who is just an awesome dog.
Brooks Ranger?
Yeah. She follows me around everywhere. I mean, she doesn't have to be on the leash, but I follow the rules when I need to. But we've talked about this. I've had her on CBD oil after these big hikes and stuff, because she was, and the next morning she would be so sore. And I was seeing such a good effect from that, a good result, that I kept her on it. And there's 3 or 4 things that happened in the last 2 weeks where she just kind of like loses track of where she's at, and I have to go find her, things that have never happened. And this bear incident, she was totally aloof. Like normally Brooks would be right next to me barking, like looking at me on how she should behave. And that's what I wanted out of her. Yeah. And I was like, Brooks, bark. Yeah. And she just didn't care. And she was kind of walking circles around me. So the CBD oil definitely put her in this mindset that I did not like her in outside. Yeah. So one thing I'm going to do is kind of try to do some more research on the CBD oil for dogs, because this is a specific dog one, and I believe in the results. But is there a way we can get those results without like this deviated mental function?
Almost too mellowed out.
Yeah, and just not aware. It's like, hey, there's a bear right here, Brooks. Like, and she just didn't care. Like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you would have thought she'd be haunched up and snarling and all up in its face, or even put herself at risk.
She usually barks at bears. And I have to tell her to stop. She did not bark, but that would have been very helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing that was a really big deal was it showed me how important it is to have these like bear conversations with the kids, because the kids already knew what to do. We had talked about this so many times that they just got in line. And when one of the other kids would kind of walk out to the side to get a look, the other kids would pull them back directly behind me. And so that was cool. I mean, they could see still, but they weren't, walking to 6 or 7 feet away. The other kids would pull them closer. And I thought that was really cool that they kind of took care of themselves. And so when we got through this incident, Brandon and I sat down with the kids right near the road, and we're like, hey, how was that? How'd it go? Is everyone feeling good? What do you think about this bear thing? And just talking to them normal and had real conversations. And none of them, they were kind of aware of how big of a deal it was. but not to the degree like Brandon and I knew that it could have gone.
Yeah.
I think that Brandon and I handled in a way that they were confident that we knew we were confident.
Well, probably your guys' calm demeanor and,
that goes a long way.
That's very important in any situation like that.
Calm, cool, and collected.
Just be calm.
Yep.
Just be calm. And assertive.
Yeah.
So,
So it's easy to panic and like just lose all sense of what you're supposed to do in that moment.
Yeah.
I do think though, when you got your kids though, your parental instincts just click in, and
100%.
you'll put yourself in front of a train to protect them,
Yeah.
or a bear.
Well, I 100% believe that Brandon would have just stayed right there and took on that freaking bear while you got his kids and your kids away. I mean, any dad would do that.
Yep.
Need be,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I found a little, there's a lot of information to kind of sift through, but I found a number that was recorded in eastern interior Alaska with grizzlies and moose, and it's about 45%.
So almost 50%.
50%.
Yeah.
So if she has two, one of them's most likely going to die from predator or I think it's just a hard life for a moose calf to survive.
Yeah.
Period. Especially when mama's malnourished, tired, whooped.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, she's got to figure out a way to protect her babies, but they're just the easiest target. And black bears are the worst because I think they're smaller and nimble. They can kind of dodge and weave and hide, and they're shorter, and they can kind of stay out of the view of a moose versus say like a big grizzly or a brown bear or something like that.
And the thing with those black bears that are in town, they don't get a lot of other encounters with other like brown bears that will kind of like punk them or kind of put a little bit of fear in them. And all they see is these people that are running around. And most people are just like avoiding them.
Yeah.
So they're curious as well.
Yep.
Yep.
So they haven't developed any sort of fear or, which is scary.
Well, I showed you guys that video and photo from my trip back, and black bears are off the side of the road. I jumped out of my truck 10 feet away. I'm video cameraing pictures, did a selfie. The thing was just like,
no big deal.
Just chomping on the greens, not even caring that I was there. It's like,
wow,
what the hell? And then you go and make a stalk on one for 5 hours, and it catches one little whiff of you, and it's gone. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I want to introduce our guest today, a special guest that Brandon wanted to really get on. His name is Dana Wright. He is the great-grandnephew of Walter Harper. Walter Harper is the very first Alaska native and first person in general in the whole entire world to ever summit Denali.
In 1913.
In 1913.
Yep.
And Walter Harper is your great-great-uncle?
Great-grand-uncle.
Great-grand-uncle. Yeah. And the reason we brought Dana in today is Dana participated in the centennial climb of Denali. So he wanted to follow in the footsteps of his great-granduncle. Granduncle. My goodness, that's a tough one.
That's a hard one, right?
Well, Dana is a bloodline descendant of the first climb.
Got it.
And that's where that connection, great-grand-grand, you're in the mix.
Athabascan.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It says here 21-year-old Athabascan, who was the first. So he did it when he was 21.
Yeah. He was
in
just
2000,
a young gun.
Wow. In 1913. Holy cow. Anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Dana's also a badass Alaskan, hikes, mountaineering, obviously Denali.
Tons of mountaineering.
He races, Mount Marathon style stuff. He's got the mares.
Got the Mayor's Marathon coming up in
this guy takes a lunch break in the middle of a very rigorous, busy job to go run 5 miles and come back to work.
Wow.
I mean, it's no joke. He takes a lunch break and does a 5-mile run.
He's the guy when you're on the Kasugi with your wife that's running by with no backpack, no nothing, just no shirt off.
Just cruising. just getting a run in today.
I'm not so different from a husky. I love winter. I love to run. I'm kind of furry. And
Hell yeah. Well, welcome to the show, Dana, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
I was telling these guys and you before the show that I felt like your story and Your presence as an Alaskan was everything that our podcast is. As far as obviously every badass Alaskan we'd love to have on here, but not a lot of people. I found one of the most fascinating things when we got to know each other working together. You're like, I summoned a Denali, and I was like, what? Like, people
People do that.
People do that? Like, I mean, I know they do, but I never thought I'd meet somebody that did it because I just assumed it was like one of the craziest climbs in the world. And I mean, I know it is, but
it's funny you say that because I haven't talked about it a lot in recent years because after telling people I was so proud about it, everyone's like, oh yeah, my uncle did that or my brother did that or my dad did that. I did that last year. And I'm like,
really?
I was like, I guess I'm not that cool. I thought I was pretty cool over here.
In the wrong circle there.
Yeah, well, I just found it fascinating. I'd never met anybody that did it, and I was like, damn, this dude's for real. I mean, if he did it, and you were pretty young, right?
I was 27 at the time. I would have loved to have been 21 at the time. Now that I know what I know, I don't know that I would have had the mental toughness at 21 to train properly for it. The one thing that I do have a distinction on a lot of people that have summited Denali is I did the north face of it. So I went up the Muldrow glacier route, which is very rarely done. The year I did it, 2 Denali park rangers went shortly before us, and then there was one other climbing group besides us. So like 20 people for the whole season, and there was some I think 1,200 people for the whole season. So everyone's on the West Buttress, and then there's just like a couple psychopaths on the north side of things, just suffering the whole way up.
Yeah,
Nice.
You should tell us the difference between the routes.
Let's get to that. Before we get into that, though, I want to go back on and start off with your great grand
uncle.
Great grand. Oh man, this is
so weird, right?
Who talks about their
the great grand uncle? And as he brings up the great grand uncle and the history of that, maybe pull up the routes.
Okay.
Online so that we can take a look at that. So give us a little history on your family member that and that whole little story that you were kind of getting into and how he got dragged into going up there and what really inspired them to be the first people ever to summit Denali.
So Walter Harper was the first person ever to successfully summit Denali, the highest peak in all of North America. And he was part of a climbing team. He was not the guide by any means. He was just one of the people that was along on the route to help. As you can imagine, mountaineering in the early 1900s, completely different sport than it is today. I mean, they weren't even entirely sure that the route that they were taking was the right way to go. But this particular summit attempt was it was organized by Hudson Stuck. And he was a religious figure in Fairbanks at the time. He had some funding. He had the ability to pull together supplies, pull together some money for it. So he really started the whole thing. He was really fascinated with Denali from the moment he got to Alaska. I mean, clearly back then it's just this massive mountain that just seemed, impossible at the time. And people were attempting it. People were trying different routes, but no one was really coming back successful. There were some debunked initial summit claims that were proven false later down the way. So it was kind of a hot thing to do at that time. There was a lot of exploration or very few places that weren't explored by that point. So he enlisted a couple other people for the trip. Harry Karstens was really kind of maybe the main guide through all of this. He was the one that had a lot of the survival, the mountaineering, the wilderness expertise. My great-granduncle, Walter Harper, was pretty young and had been working with Hudson Stuck for quite a while, helping him, work the dog team, work the boat in the summertime, helping fish or do whatever chores were needed. So he was really just kind of hired help to some extent. I mean, he was a confidant of Hudson Stuck. He was, and then there was also Robert Tatum, who was was the fourth person on the climb. They also went out with 2 other young Alaska Native boys who went with them from Fairbanks by dog team to get to McGonigal Pass, and those 2 boys helped set up a camp. They helped hunt and fish and get supplies for the climb. So they had to leave in February from Fairbanks by dog team in order to make this thing happen, right? So they're out for like months, maybe not coming back. All for glory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like no sponsor paying for this.
Yeah. So they all get down there and they hunt and they get their supplies. They're out there for fur, for meat, for any provisions they can make while they're out there, because you can't pack that stuff with you. And of course, they're just living off the land pretty regularly at that time.
They didn't have Heather's Choice?
They did not have Heather's Choice.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
No packaroons. That's just
No
wrong.
packaroons,
Dang.
yeah.
there's
She
not
would've
a
hooked it
single
up if she
packaroon. May not have even been invented at that time.
Pretty sure it wasn't.
A lot of the behind the and the eyeball fat probably. From a,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They made a bunch of meatballs that they were able to freeze, and then you can thaw out one at a day, and it's so nutrient dense with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, with that climb, they made it, but it took them forever. I mean, they were planning on being on the climb, actually on the mountain, only for a couple of weeks. I think they were on there for 6. I'm not a historian, so don't quote me on that. But
6 weeks?
yeah, from the glacier up.
Yeah.
So,
But it probably took them for a long time to even just get to where they started to climb, right?
oh yeah. So
Yeah, what is that, like maybe horse and carriage or
Well, sled dog, right?
Sled dogs
sled
all
dog
the
team.
way? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's how they got around pretty much
Yeah.
everywhere out there. You either went by boat or by sled dog.
Yeah.
So 1913, when they summited, it actually was the first year that there was a flight in Alaska. It was one of the first airplanes that ever hit to Alaska, but long before that was really available to them. So they made it, and not without a ton of issues. But ultimately, on summit day, Walter Harper was the only person that wasn't really, really struggling with altitude sickness. And when you're up at that 20,000 feet, everything in your body is trying to shut down. I mean, just existing feels like a pretty bad hangover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that particular day, he just happened to be the only one that wasn't really struggling. And that particular day, when they made their summit push, he was in the front of the pack the whole way, breaking trail, and broke trail until no more trail to break, and he was up at the top. So that's my family's claim to fame.
Nice.
There's the Harper Glacier, which is up at the very top of Denali, which goes into the Harper Icefall, which is just magnificent. If you look up photos of the Harper Icefall in Denali, it is just the most ridiculous glacier that drops several thousand feet into the Muldrow Glacier. So it's just a glacier that's like...
It goes into another glacier?
Yeah. Basically the slowest frozen waterfall you've ever seen, and it's just slowly making its way down.
Oh, he's pulling it up right there.
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible. Also, they named the ranger station in Talkeetna the Walter Harper Ranger Station. So,
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
yeah, so my family's got a little local celebrity. So,
That doesn't do it justice there, does it?
so
You get free drinks at the bar there?
man. So when you're in Talkeetna and you say, I summited Denali, they're like, everyone in this town summited Denali.
It doesn't get you far there.
Yeah. So like I said, I haven't spoke about it a whole lot because I kept on getting excited about it. And everyone's like, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
great story, but
So fast forward many years, I got the opportunity to climb, which was at a really weird time in my life. And I'd like to switch gears and talk about how I got into mountaineering for a quick minute.
please do.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead,
Let's,
Dana.
let's get on the history there.
Yeah, back it up.
Second grade, I get a skateboard from like the local Goodwill, and my best friend.
Oh, you
gets
didn't
a
get Gary King's?
No.
Yeah, me either.
So this was in Fairbanks at the time. I grew up in Fairbanks, and
Real quick, here's a photo of that ice fall. It's pretty sick.
yeah, and so that's from miles
Oh,
away.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's massive, and
Right.
so
So the one below that you can't really see is
is the Muldrow Glacier.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I get a skateboard in second grade. I get pretty good, and then fourth grade rolls around, and the shop in Fairbanks called Banana Board, and they sell snowboards. And at the time, I mean, they're pretty novel. I was like, oh, and I'd already been skiing, so I picked up snowboarding. I dropped skateboarding a long time ago because concrete just hurts now. but
Not very forgiving.
So snowboarding, when I was younger, I was going crazy doing the rails, doing the jumps and all that. And I kept on going to Alyeska once I moved to Anchorage, and kept on getting in trouble for trying to build jumps like off in the woods. And we just keep on getting kicked out. And one time my friend's like, we could go to Turnagain. And I didn't know what Turnagain was at the time. But we already had a truck full of gas. So we just drove to Turnagain Pass. I really have no idea where we went that particular time. And we just made the most ridiculous jump and sessioned it for, I don't know, 2-3 hours. And it was just like 2 feet of snow that day, and it was just incredible. So long story short, we just ditched Alyeska and paying for passes because we were already broke, and just started going out to Turnagain and Hatcher Pass and building jumps. And eventually it's like, you know what, I really just like being out here. And eventually I started going like, well, why don't we go to the top of the mountain and get a sweet run in?
Yeah, go from 2-minute ride to 5.
Yeah. So backcountry.
After 6 hours of climbing.
Yeah. I'm not saying it makes sense, but I love it. So
most Alaskan adventures are that way.
Right. So I've been backcountry snowboarding for 15 years now, but at the time, so about 2012, I had just been dumped by my girlfriend. Heartbreaking.
Yeah. Devastation.
So I was drinking a lot, but it was also a particularly good snowboarding season. So I've been doing a bunch of backcountry. I was out in the mountains every weekend.
Every chance you could.
Or twice a weekend. And I got home from snowboarding one day, and my mom calls and she says, I got contacted about something. I'd like to talk to you about this a little bit. And I said, okay. And so she comes over and shows me a couple emails from some people that were trying to organize a centennial climb of Denali. And like it had been a part of my life, my whole life, that Walter Harper was this person and you were related to him, and he climbed Denali once. But my family doesn't do any bragging. They're not going to talk about it a whole lot. So I didn't know a lot about it, but she's like, do you want to climb Denali? I'm like, do it.
Can I bring my snowboard?
I had just been dumped. I had nothing else going on. I'm like, well, fine. Let's go climb a mountain. And she's like, it's real. It could be happening. It's Denali.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I could do that. I'm doing like 1,000 or 2,000 foot elevation game climbs. Nothing like this. I went home every day to my own bed, so I really didn't know what I was getting into. But I knew that I love being out in the mountains. I knew that I thrived out there in the winter and in the summer. I started hiking in the summer. So when it happened, it's just like, oh, okay, we can give it a go. And I was just over a year beforehand, and then a month or two later, I'm meeting up with all these climbers. So basically, what happened was descendants of the original climbing team were trying to get together to do a 100-year anniversary climb, same route. Not starting from Fairbanks in February by dog sled because we have real lives.
Yeah.
But doing the Muldrow Glacier route, which is the original route that you had to go until they got planes that could drop you off.
How do you spell that? Muldrow.
Muldrow.
Muldrow. Okay.
Muldrow Glacier.
Muldrow.
So, and so shortly after that, I say yes. We're kind of making things happen. People are flying up to Alaska, and I have to take an advanced mountaineering course on like no time flat. I did a 12-day advance.
Huge.
Yeah.
Where do you take
like
that
40
class?
years. So it's I did mine through Alaska Mountaineering School in Talkeetna.
Okay.
And it was a 12-day class, and they flew us out into what's called Little Switzerland, which is an area out in the Alaska Range, and they just drop you off on a glacier by plane and then take off. And you're out there with some guides. So did a 12-day course like that to really get the feel for glacier travel, for just surviving out there, how to melt your water every day, how to be efficient with your movement, how to pack up camp, how to walk for extended periods of time because you have nothing else to do
Yeah.
out there. So that was really cool. And then for that whole following year, I just lived at the gym And that particular year was the 2013 winter season where we just got massive amounts of snow in South Central.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was like a record year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like the snow was it just kept on falling, but perfectly bonding to each other. So there's like very little avalanche risk. And so I was I really dedicated pretty much my life to it at that point. 2013 came around and we actually went out and did the dang thing and came back successful. So obviously we can get into that here in a little bit, but that was just kind of how all this happened. I mean, it fell in my lap. It's not like I didn't have my sights on it at all. Mm-hmm. It was never something that I was aspiring to do. I like being out in the mountains, but I also like cheeseburgers and going to bed in my own bed at night, you know? If it wasn't for this opportunity, I can't say that I ever would have done it. But it was the most formative thing that in my life. I mean, obviously that's kind of a big deal. So
Very. Yeah.
So from the original group, how many descendants went on that climb?
we had a representative from every family.
Oh, really?
nice.
Really?
Yeah.
So 5?
Yeah. So,
Karstens?
sorry. Yeah. Five of the 6 that originally went. And so not all of them made it to the summit, but we all started together.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Just the fact that, it's 100 years later, we've never met any of these guys. That none of them have ever been part of our day to day. It wasn't Uncle Walt, this dude was dead long before I ever came. He died at like 27.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So him and his wife were on their honeymoon and they were heading down to Seattle on a ship called the Princess Sophia. And it was the biggest maritime disaster in all of Alaska history.
Oh,
whoa.
It ran up on a reef and then sunk.
Man.
So long story short, I was his age when he died, and he had already summited Denali and done all these things.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
and 100 years ago, so I was maybe feeling a little inadequate
Did that
compared to him.
Did that give you the chills at all that you're the same age as when he died, when you were climbing McKinley?
Yeah, because I'm on the dang mountain, and I'm like, you know what? He died, and I'm trying to follow in his footsteps. Maybe I shouldn't be on boats, I think is what I ultimately learned.
Yeah, stay on the mountain. Yeah, so it was Dana Wright, Diana Campbell, Ken Karstens, Ray Schooneman,
Yep.
and Daniel Hopkins, the 5 reps.
Yep. So Dan was a descendant of Hudson Stuck.
Okay, sweet.
Super cool guy. He was just an absolute beast on the climb. Just a great.
Was he lead dog?
No, we had guides.
Oh, okay. Yeah, makes
Because
sense.
they're not going to let a whole bunch of rookies just
Yeah.
go try the hard side of the mountain just to see what happens.
Good luck, guys.
But he had summited Denali before, so he had experience. He already knew what was going on.
Oh, perfect.
And he just had a setup there. And there were some other members that weren't at the press release that was going on here. It was a group of 10. So it was a pretty good size. Well, it started out as a group of 10. So it was a pretty good size group. We had 4 guides because we were actually supposed to have more people. We were trying to get a film crew. It was supposed to be a documentary and all that.
Yeah.
The logistics of being on that side of the mountain were ridiculous. And carrying, you can't fly on that side of the mountain. The only way you're getting rescued is life or limb. There's no snow machines. There's no 4-wheelers allowed over there. It's nothing. So, so the idea of getting all that camera equipment out there without somehow damaging it is impossible.
Yeah.
Couldn't make it happen.
But the nice part about that is having 4 guides means that there's 4 people that are very experienced on the mountain, which ultimately really helped a lot. And that year was actually a record-breaking summit percentage year. It was just beautiful weather the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's complete lie. There was some nasty weather days, but as far as Denali goes, it was
Good.
It was amazing the whole time.
So had any of the guides taken that route before?
One had. His name was Hunter, and he was the lead guide. So, there was a little bit of experience, and there was one other group. It was a NOLS group, NOLS National Outdoor Learning Society. So it's like a class that you take, and you summit Denali through this thing, which is a pretty gnarly class. So there was another group of 10
I'd
people,
say.
and they had some backup too. So there was some resources on that route during that time, but we were the only people out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is there any like a book or anything about Walter, or some sort of documentary or articles that we could look up or find?
There are a ton.
Well, there's Ascent of Denali you mentioned earlier, right?
Yep. There's a book by Mary Erlander, and I believe it's called Alaska Native Son. I could be wrong on that. That one was more about Walter Harper specifically. Walter Harper didn't really get a lot of hype, or didn't really get a lot of notoriety around the climb really until we kind of did our climb and just kind of brought the story to light a little bit more. Ultimately, he wasn't the organizer. He wasn't the lead guide. He just happened to be, he was kind of the stud of the trip. He was the one that just kept it together the whole time and was working hard the whole time and wasn't being a pain in the butt or anything like that. And he just pulled more than his own weight the whole way. So I think he was an unsung hero, and ultimately he got firsties on that summit. So
Perfect. Yeah, you earned it. Yeah.
So out of the 5 that went, you said not everyone summited. Without naming names, how many summited?
So Sam Tatum, who was the descendant of Robert Tatum, he got roped in very much last minute. I think he's from Georgia. And you don't just kind of like, well, I mean, maybe some people do, but you don't really just on a couple months' notice be like, you want to go climb Denali?
Yeah.
You ever been on a mountain before? You seen snow?
Yeah.
Ultimately, what ended up happening is he got new boots, and he took those new boots straight out.
Oh, man.
Oh, with no break-in?
No break-in.
Oh, shit.
Man.
I've been there.
We know how that goes. You
Yeah.
better
So
have some foot.
you really know how it goes when you got to cross 2 rivers and some 30 miles of just tundra and rock before you ever get to snow. So he had to cut out, I think, 7 days in. I mean, his feet, he looked like a leper. I mean, his feet were chewed up.
Ouch.
And I think that he was just trying to hold on. I think he was just trying to just tough it out. But you can't tough that out. Like, I mean, some people might be able to, but at the rate that his feet were getting chewed up, he had to turn around. So we lost the guide during that time to get him all the way back.
Oh, because they had to turn around and walk out.
Bring him back.
Yeah. And then Raymond Schuneman, who was he was a cousin of Ken Carson's. He got altitude sickness at high camp.
Which is at what elevation?
17,000 feet.
Okay.
So he wanted to go, but was basically told the night before, you're out. If we don't make it and you're better and we have an opportunity to do another summit attempt, we'll maybe talk about it then, but you're not going tomorrow.
And that was the guide's call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was really, really tough because he trained hard for it, and he really had a lot of he had his heart.
He
and soul
wanted
into
it. Yeah.
How was his response to the guide?
Good question.
He's very very confident dude, very gregarious. He's an entrepreneur and is very successful he lives in Texas. And he was very respectful of it. He was cordial about it. He seemed pretty crushed.
Yeah.
Oh, I
He
bet.
seemed pretty crushed. I mean, to make it that far and to go through all the training
man.
and spend that whole time, and then the one day when everyone goes for the glory day, you got to sit it out, but then you still got to walk all the way back out with everyone that's just
Done it, yeah.
So you just got to sit there and wait for everybody else to go up and have the exciting moment.
and hope they come back. You know,
Right.
if something bad
No,
happened,
that's
he's
true.
on that side of the mountain with one other person. That's a bad day.
Did they leave a guide back with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't allowed to be there alone. And I mean, like, the altitude sickness was some diarrhea and just some fatigue.
Yeah.
You can't be having diarrhea on summit day.
No.
If you
How long
can
does that take from there to the top summit? I guess it varies. It's all day. There and back though. You don't go and stay. You go
No, you
touch
you,
it and come back.
Yeah, you get up there, you get your photos, you get back. I mean, your body is shutting down at that altitude.
Wow, it's a matter of time. Like you just
Yeah, yeah.
How long does it take to do that through the last 3,000 feet?
I don't know the exact time. It probably 12 to 15 hours,
Yeah.
and it's not that far. But when you're at that height, at that altitude, you take one step, another step.
Yeah.
Like the whole way is just. I mean, there's no air to be had, so you're just moving at such a snail pace. It's cold and it's windy and it's not fun.
Yeah.
The summit day is pretty rough, but
was it Bluebird for you guys that day?
heck yeah.
Man,
nice.
sick, dude.
So talk about summit day and then maybe talk about the route because the route's pretty interesting.
Yeah, let's do it.
So summit day, we get up and get after it. You have to bring some cooking supplies and you have to bring your sleeping bag and an emergency bivvy for enough people. So basically, a lot of people end up getting caught in a storm on summit day and then just freeze to death up there. So summit day was very light packing as far as stuff goes, but we still I'm carrying a pot. Like, why am I carrying a pot up on summit day? But very few other things. And we had our boots on and over boots and crampons and every layer that existed. And it's not particularly technical on the last part of Denali. Denali, for the most part, is just a big mound. I mean, there's some areas of technical climbing, but summit day was pretty chill. And it was sunny and it was Bluebird. The wind was kind of kicking that day, but it was just super slow going the whole day. We had to stop and rest, but you don't want to stop and rest because you get freaking cold the second you stop. I mean, it's it's the end of June and it's, below zero up there. And we're walking and we're walking and we're walking and walking, which is really just the story of climbing Denali in general.
Yeah.
And I got pretty good at that point at just kind of like shoving the pain down and shoving the discomfort down. It's just like left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And as we're getting near the top, I remember that everyone just kind of stops. And I stopped too, and I was just kind of still looking at my toes, so tired. And finally, I kind of look up, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "You first." And so
Really?
Yeah. So
they gave you the lead?
Yeah. So
No way.
So they let me summit first.
Wow.
Damn, dude, that's cool.
And during this whole time, like I had been taking the best photos. Like I was getting photographs all the time, and I had a little camera around my neck, so it was always warm and it was always charged. And I get it out to take some summit photos, and I take one photo of the group, and then my camera dies. I never got any photos of me. I mean, other people got photos, but we stayed up there for maybe about 10 minutes, I think.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it wasn't a lot of time. And other people are trying to get their shot at the glory.
Sure,
right?
sure.
There wasn't a lot of people on our summit day. And then we got to had to get all turned around on our rope teams and head back down. And I remember just absolutely falling apart on the way back. It's like you got it done, but the going up is not the dangerous part. It's getting back down without doing something stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
And that whole way down, I remember like just barely able to keep my legs moving ahead of me. I was just trucking along but finally as we got down in altitude, be able to get more air in your lungs and all that, I started to feel a little bit better. And then finally we could see the tent, way far in the distance, and kind of got to a flat area where it was kind of chill and we were out of the wind a little bit. So the rest of the hike back, I was kind of able to just enjoy it. But man, I felt like I was going to collapse on the whole way down. I mean, like once I realized that I was there, the body's like, "You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just go to bed now."
Is there any like summit traditions? Like someone brings up
That's
a
a great question,
caribou
dude.
call or something,
Not that I know of. I'm sure that there are hundreds of traditions. I mean, people come from all over the world. For the most part, you're so freaking tired up there that like really to snap a selfie is all the more.
Yeah, that's the
that's
tradition. Let's get the picture.
Well, I made it.
Yeah.
People think that they're like going to do like, you know, a jumping high five, or they're going to do a like a handstand or something.
Or
No,
a chest
man.
bump or something. It's like, no, that ain't happening.
You're gonna try and catch your breath unsuccessfully and just stand there.
All right, I'm going to take a second here to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Tailored Restoration, 24-hour emergency services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, remodeling, and anything and everything in the aftermath. Tailored has an emergency response number with trained professionals available to help you at any time of day or night. Give them a call. You can check out their numbers by searching them on Google or hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Right on. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, so that summit is just like the pinnacle of
Pinnacles.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's one thing to like physically get yourself up there, but to mentally keep pushing and like that, to me, there must have been like some spiritual soul searching connection. I know we talked about that doing other backpack mountain hunting that we've done together.
Yeah.
Just getting up to something that's so hard is such a gratifying and satisfying feeling. That's just got to take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and I think I am probably projecting any sort of like deep contemplative thoughts that I might have had. Because while I was out there, just
Yeah.
the one thing that was really trippy is it was cloudy that day for normal people. Like, you know how you're up in a plane and you can see clouds below you?
Yeah.
So we had clouds like a mile below us.
Oh yeah.
And it's complete cloud cover, so it's just a white horizon, a blue sky. But when you're up that high, if you look directly above you, the sky is like black.
Oh, because you're so close to
Exactly.
the edge of the atmosphere.
So like
that
right
is
above
so
you,
cool.
middle of the day, the sky's just dark. Which is
Think about that.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's crazy.
Super trippy. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, I never
Kinda
really
mind
thought about
blown
it.
with that one.
And I remember kind of looking up and be like, oh, weird. And then I got back down and I was asking the other guys, I'm like, was I tripping on? Or they're like, no, it's just no atmosphere up there. I'm like, okay.
Wow. I want to go back to you mentioned before how you started and kind of the route you did, and then I really want to geek out on the gear that you guys brought with yourself and what it took for you to like gather all that stuff up.
Lots of money.
Yeah.
Lots of money.
Oh, one more thing about the money. Did you had to come out of pocket for that, or were they like?
Yeah, I got some sponsorships. I got some pro deals. Family helped out a little bit. Ultimately, between all the gear, all the missed work, the cost of the climb, and all that, even though I did make some money and my band did some fundraiser shows, it still set me back about $15,000.
Holy shit, dude! Really?
Yeah, but yeah.
Sorry, I was just thinking like $2,500 or
Yeah.
something like.
Well, I missed a
15,000?
solid like 2 months of work between all the training.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And the time I wasn't there.
Okay.
So
Breaking
like,
it down.
Yeah, really breaking it down. Total costs involved. It financially really wrecked me. But the route that we took and the reason that we were on the North Face was it was the original route. So the Muldrow Glacier route, if anyone's been on the Denali Park Road, the one you go on a bus, it goes some 90 miles into the park. One of the last stops is Wonder Lake. That's at like a elevation of like 2,000 feet of elevation. And most people, when they fly into Denali, they go on the West Buttress. They fly in by plane to 7,000 feet. We got off a bus. The whole crew just got off a bus at what's called the McKinley Bar Trail. McKinley Bar Trail is like maybe 2 miles until you get to the McKinley River. Massive river. It's not like a particularly deep one, but there's just tons of braiding streams that go in and out and all that. I mean, it can be all sorts of different heights. So we just pile off a bus, and when you're mountaineering, you have a haul sled, so you can carry a lot of the weight on a sled behind you, so you don't have to have it on your back. But when you're going through tundra and rock, you carry all the weight, and the haul sled. So it's like 90, 100-pound packs. I mean, we are talking soul crushing weight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it just makes you want to quit.
Yeah, like 100. I had a 105-liter pack, completely maxed out, like some stuff hanging off the outside. It was so full. So it was pretty massive. And so you start the climb right from the McKinley Bar Trail. Anyone can go check out that trail. Highly recommend it. It's pretty cool if you make it down there. And we get to the McKinley River and camp for the first night. It was like 2 miles. So it was like, if anyone wants to bail, you saw what one day was like. If you really don't want none, now's the time. Very next day, we had to get up and cross the McKinley River, which had some 5 or 6 stream crossings. All of those were like knee high, mid thigh. So it wasn't terribly bad. When you have that heavy of a backpack, it's a problem.
Now, what about the sled? Does it just like it
The sled was tied to my back.
full of stuff, or you put everything in the back and then just tie the sled as you go through the river?
So the first part was the first part of the route. Since we weren't on snow and weren't on the glacier, we had to carry everything and the sled on our backs.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This is where they use dog sleds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have got there well before breakup
Right.
on a dog sled. You can travel easy.
Yeah, flying.
Yeah. So once we make it past that, it's.
So how do you keep your feet from getting wet?
You don't.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just wet and then you walk them dry, right?
You walk them dry.
Yeah.
Is it uncomfortable? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fun. And it's some 30. I want to say it's some 30 miles total of hiking before you ever get to any glacier. So we had first 3 or 4 days was just a struggle march. Man, it was not fun with all that weight. And like,
Yeah.
I had been training with a backpack. I was not unaware of what it was like. I had not been training with that much weight all damn day on my back. It was pretty soul crushing, but I took a lot of, I felt good because I saw other people struggling a lot more than me. So yeah, you'll be okay.
There's something to that when everyone's struggling the same. You know?
Yeah. You're not the only one.
It made me feel like, okay, well, if they're struggling too and they're still going, then quit whining, Dana, keep it moving.
Yeah.
So we go along and make our way to McGonigal Pass, and McGonigal Pass is right where you hit the Muldrow Glacier. So the Muldrow Glacier is basically the highway to the bottom of Denali. It is, I think it's like 40 miles long total. We didn't travel from the very base of it, but you make your way along the Muldrow Glacier.
I'm trying to find like, here we go. Is that a pretty good?
Yep. And obviously, like people on the podcast can't see this, but
well, they can if they go to our YouTube page. We're going to put these pictures.
Yeah,
and
there's
stuff
a visual, so we'll have it.
So
screenshot of
so
it.
as you're going, so you can see that there's Mount Tatum after Sam Tatum, and there's Carson's Ridge after Harry Carson's. That was the gnarliest part of the climb. Harper Glacier after my fam. So this whole deal of glacier travel, the whole way up is basically just trying not to fall through any cracks. So you go in springtime where it's warm enough to travel, but not so late in the spring that all the snow is melted because the snow bridges over all of those crevasses. And the later you go, the less snow there is covering those things.
Okay.
So like you have to find that balance between like, do I want to freeze to death or do I want to freeze to death in a crevasse?
What's worse?
Yeah. So the Muldrow Glacier, I mean, we were on that. That was probably half of our time was just making our way up the glacier. It's a lot of glacier travel. So it's a lot of winding around in all sorts of weird directions to trying to get, you know, how you see a path through someone work their way through a maze with a pencil or a pen, and you can kind of see like, what were you doing? That's how we got up the mountain.
So here's an image right here, Dana. So like you're walking up this whole thing, and then you go at this fork, you go left or right?
We go right. So
okay,
I mean,
that's the north side.
We're like up at the very end of the Muldrow Glacier in this. And there's a really interesting part about the Muldrow Glacier I'll get into that's happening today. So basically the Muldrow Glacier goes all the way up until it stops at the Harper Icefall.
Okay.
Harper Icefall is like over a mile high. And it's
Is that like right here, Dana? Somewhere in here? Okay.
Yep. So the Harper Glacier unloads at the Harper Icefall onto the Muldrow Glacier. And at that point, you have to gain a ridge called Carson's Ridge to get from the lower glacier to the upper glacier. And Carson's Ridge is...
It looks steep.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
So...
Is that ropes and everything? Like...
Yeah, so anytime we were on snow, we were roped up. Always. You did not really do anything. You did not get off a rope ever. When we set up a camp, we would stake out the whole camp all over the place looking for any crevasses or anything like that. And you didn't get off a rope until the whole place was deemed safe. Yeah, so it's always on rope teams. And the Carson's Ridge it's just this knife edge ridge. And it goes about 1,000 feet drop on one side down to the Muldrow, but it's dropping almost a full vertical mile to the Tri-Lake Glacier on the other side, which is I think is the other one that was
which
on that
is on. So if you're climbing up, it would be on your left side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you're on just this knife edge ridge, and it just drops on either side.
Damn,
and we had to
sketchy.
camp on it too, which was also super not cool. It's way too big to get done in one day.
So you have to stay one night on that ridge.
Yep. And then
Wow.
And how wide is this ridge?
I mean, in some areas it's maybe 50 feet wide of like usable area, and in other areas it was just literally a knife edge, and you got on one side or the other and just treaded very carefully.
Yeah.
Very carefully. So that was definitely the gnarly point of the climb, and we were on there for several days. And then Carson's Ridge unloads at the upper glacier, which is Harper Glacier, and that leads you to high camp. High camp on the Muldrow Glacier route is right next to high camp for the West Buttress route. And so from there, we basically took the same trail that everyone else takes for summit day. And then when you're done, hike all the way back out. So some 21 days to the summit and 5 days back down and out.
So 26 days from the time you got off the bus.
From bus to bus.
Bus to bus.
You actually rode the bus
Yeah.
with all the stuff and tourists on there?
We hired a bus because there was enough of us on there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it took forever. Talk about like anticipation.
Oh, that's a long bus ride.
Yeah.
I've been on that. That's a long, long
Well, and real quick, like rewind, the main meeting point was Talkeetna.
Yes. Well, that was the jump off point.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So the whole crew got on the bus in Talkeetna.
No, we got on the bus in Denali Park.
Okay.
So there was
Like if you kissed your loved ones goodbye,
yeah.
it was there.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
in Denali Park.
In Denali. Okay. Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, all in all, it was absolutely incredible. It was absolutely life-changing. You got nothing but time to think up there.
Self-reflection time.
Funny quick side story. I brought an MP3 player and a Kindle with me. The second night, I fell asleep reading on my Kindle, and I rolled over on it, and my shoulder broke the screen.
Oh.
And then the fourth day that I was in there, I had my MP3 player charging on a little solar stand while we were out for the day. And I came back, and the MP3 player had slid down into the ice and got wet. So I was up there with nothing but my thoughts for the other.
Not even a paperback or hard book or
Nothing.
or just nothing.
Just my thoughts.
Oh,
Turns out I'm crazy.
at 27, it's like,
Yeah.
what am I doing with my life?
But man, honestly, it was like a soul quest, you know, the
Hell
proverbial
yeah.
soul quest. I mean,
That's what I mean,
you're out
man.
there and you're just struggling repeatedly for a long time. You don't know if you're going to make it back. You don't know what's happening or what's going to happen, if you're going to be successful or not. And ultimately, it just sucks. And it's a lot of just walking and being cold all the time. But man, I stepped up to the plate and
You did it.
knocked it out. And I don't think I'll ever go back and do that again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why do you need to do it again? You did it
Once.
before, and
To prove it.
yeah,
For the haters.
For the
For
haters.
the haters. Yeah.
I wanted to ask
Yeah,
about.
prove it.
I wanted to ask about the camaraderie of the team. You know, I'm a huge team guy. I think everything works in unison as a group. Creates a really amazing experience when the group is on level and you know, that togetherness. How was that with that? The unique group of people that didn't really know each other, didn't have time to train with each other, probably didn't have a lot of time to get to know your guides.
Yep.
How are their personalities? Was there clashing? Was Was there unity? Like, what was that like?
Man, that whole project was so much bigger than any one of us.
Oh, great.
So a lot of people, including myself, was just like, act right. This is kind of history. Don't be acting a fool. Don't
show your ass here
on the trip.
Yeah.
So like for me personally, I was the first person out of the tent every morning in my group.
Okay.
I tried to make sure I was helping out, setting up the ropes or helping cook breakfast or helping tear down camp every time. I tried to take more than my fair share of weight the whole time because I was one of the younger guys on the trip, and I think I was one of the most trained on the trip.
Okay.
Besides the guides. But ultimately, you don't spend that much time with people and not end up kind of hating all of them at one point or another in the time.
Sure,
but
having disagreements or whatever.
the other thing is, like, you're traveling on a rope team most of the time, and that person in front of you is 40 feet away. You got to yell at them to even communicate at all.
Loudly, right?
And you're just walking all day long. So by the time you get back to camp or set up camp, it's like, I'm going to make some food. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like we had a lot of time to have these existential debates about, how life should be lived or anything.
Yeah, you're just exhausted.
What are we doing tomorrow? We're walking somewhere.
Not exactly any firewood to gather up and have a kumbaya or anything like that.
No, I'm tired. Stop talking to me. I'm going to bed.
The reason why I asked is just because those environments and situations can bring out the best and the worst in people. And and not that I wanted to find out what was negative about it, but just to find out, did anybody break, and did everybody seem like, if someone was looking like they're having a bad day, did the next person kind of help bring them up? And
everybody broke at one point or another.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I definitely had some times where I was struggling and not into hearing anyone else's shit. For the most part, when I was having those days, I would just go in the tent, just go hang out, I couldn't read. I couldn't put in headphones.
Yeah.
If I did, everyone would be like, what is Dana doing? you know? So ultimately it was bigger than all of us, and everyone recognized that at the time. And everyone really stepped up.
That's cool.
Really nice. I want to get into the gear thing, but before we do that, I want to give a shout out to the Treehouse AK, your one-stop dispensary located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Be sure to ask the bud tender about their deal of the day, because honestly, guys, there's always something good on deck, and this is where the culture lives. At the Treehouse, their dedication to servicing consumers has been developed through a lifetime of involvement in the cannabis culture. They're committed to providing the highest quality products of whatever your value or budget affords, while always maintaining the deep-rooted principles that have carried them this far. Their focus is on relationships over transactions, and you can always depend on them to treat you with the respect you deserve. Hit them up at thetreehouseak.com. Remember, you must be 21 years of age to enter the store. And one quick thing that I've noticed at the Treehouse as I've been going in there week after week is they don't have a big turnover on staff. It seems that like you'll find the same bud tenders in there, so they're very knowledgeable, and they get to know you and get to know kind of like what you're looking for. So you're not in there always like, this new guy maybe knows what he's talking about, maybe he doesn't. So you'll see the same faces over there and get to know the girls and the guys over there that can help you out with finding whatever it is you need.
Yeah, personal touch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's nice.
Exactly. And he just got a bunch of new Treehouse gear and fire supply merch and stuff like that. So go ahead and go support those guys with the new shirt or a hoodie or something like that.
Yeah, I need to go get that new Treehouse hat, man. Josh had that hat on this weekend.
He's got a new?
Sharp. Yeah, I mean, it's just got that logo on there.
Yeah.
But their logo is so legit. It's like, it's a marijuana dispensary.
Yeah.
But the logo is, I call it Alaska Rich, is what his logo is to me. Alaska Rich to me is me, retired, living in the woods in a little cabin. Where I can come out and just drink a cup of coffee and listen to the birds. Yeah. That's it. Like, I would be the richest man in the world. And his logo is that.
Nice.
Woods, mountains, beautiful little cabin.
I have a tattoo on my arm that's that exact scene, because it's just like, that's it. The pinnacle of life for me. Well, maybe, I didn't climb Denali, but.
Not yet. You still got time.
Man, I don't know if I'd be down for that one, dude.
Let me recommend against it.
I think I'll take your word. You know what?
Unless it's a passion project and it's something that you really have always had your sights set on.
No.
It's going to cost a lot of money to suffer.
I'll live vicariously through your experience and be like, yep,
There we go.
I know a guy that did it. It's
Well,
awesome.
come to find out, your great grandmother is uncle. Lives up there.
Little did I know.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, that was badass though. Just that whole process, the operation. I mean, that isn't something that you can just, hey man, it's like 2 weeks beforehand. Let's go hit Denali.
You're not going to BS that climb. Some people can. I mean, some people.
There are probably some like Barney badasses out there that like just do it for a living and can just fly into town and just rip it. But
I mean, and I feel confident now because I got the gear. I have the knowledge. Like I know what it takes, and even though I'm not applying that anymore to big mountains like that, I still apply that in all of my backcountry snowboarding.
Hell
I still apply
yes.
that in all of my backpacking trips. I still apply a lot of it in when I do mountain running because I run a lot of mountains. So it's definitely like that can't be taken away, and that experience can't be taken
No.
away. And sometimes I feel good in the fact that like through no amount of money can afford someone the knowledge. Like if I need to, I can run from my house straight into the mountains and pop out in Girdwood,
Yep.
and I'll be okay.
yeah, you know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we get into geeking out on the gear that you brought and that you have and that you've learned, Jack, we're going to do some trivia tonight.
Yeah, we should do some.
yeah.
trivia.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And just for the record, I'm 3-0 in the last week.
Yeah.
No hints.
Well, I loved how before our little production meeting before the podcast, Dana's like, shit, man, I'm not the best guy to ask. Trivia. I was like, hey, you're right here with us, brother. Lifelong Alaskans don't know shit. What you got for us today, Jack?
yeah, so we tried to base them around our favorite mountain in Alaska, Denali, or one of our favorite mountains. So we know that the first successful attempt, or I guess
First successful summit, yeah.
Summit was in 1913. What year was the first documented attempt? So this is a fail.
Documented
this.
attempt.
I'm going to say 1890.
I'm going 1898.
Let's see here. 1907. No idea why. I just figured that's a good number.
Yeah, so in 1903, James Wickersham. We have a lot of Alaska.
I always go
Wickersham.
over,
I wonder
though,
if
man.
This person's
Yeah.
relatives are still up here.
Over.
Recorded the first attempt, which was unsuccessful, and then in 1906, Frederick Cook claimed the first attempt, but then was later debunked.
Yeah, but he did find the Muldrow Glacier route.
Oh, he did.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he was the one
pioneered
that
that?
like really figured out like that's how you get
That's
up.
how you get up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did they debunk it? Do you know?
So they took photos. So the other thing that they had to do on the 1913 trip was they had to boil water to figure out what temperature it boiled at. They had to like do some scientific experiments up there to
That is
prove
so
it.
badass, dude.
I could barely stand and take a selfie. These guys are like setting up a tent and doing, getting their 1913
Fuel system. Yeah.
like
The reactor.
how's that even
What the
burning
hell
up
was that
there?
even doing? I mean, it's not like they had a jet boil up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Animal oil
jet
or
boil.
something?
Yeah,
I don't know what they use.
bear fat oil. Or
They
Shell
definitely use
oil.
some sort of oil
Yeah.
in there. And they also got photos. I mean, you have to have photos, and the photos that they took were later debunked because it was like just the views and where they're at was clearly not the views that you would have had.
Yeah.
But at the time, there's no one to say no,
Yeah.
no. So, I mean, they
What was the
Rode on
span
the
between the two?
10 years between the first.
Oh, that guy had 10 years of shine, huh?
Oh no, that guy. The first like debunked attempt was 1906. So
Okay.
yeah, he still had 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years of fame.
1907. House close,
He's
dude.
a rock star. Dude.
Always going over though. Well, you were talking about the photos.
Uh-huh.
I try to tell people about this image that I've seen, but I can't. They need to see it in person. Is the one you made for Ryan and you gave it to him as
yeah.
a gift. And what this image is, you're not at the top,
It's
but you're
so cool. It's near the bottom of the glacier.
okay. But in 2013, we had a raging forest fire going on in. Was that?
It's all over the interior. I mean,
That was an interior fire. Is that
all
what
of
it was?
Alaska was on fire that year.
So as a a Christmas gift to our employer. He made and printed like how you did that pano picture of me,
The canvas prints, yeah.
canvas print of his climb. And there's the clouds are kind of covered, and it's all just red from the smoke, and then the sun. Explain that, Dana. It's just the sickest photo.
So on our way back down, the final day on the glacier.
Oh, that was on your way down.
Yeah, I was on the way down.
Oh, okay.
So final day on the glacier, and we wake up in the morning. So on the way down on the glacier, the whole glacier had freaking melted. So like the route we took the way up, we couldn't take on the way down. Like all of a sudden there's just gaping holes, just crevasses.
wow.
So like we had to reroute. It took a little bit longer, but it was supposed to be our final day. And wake up, and it's raining. And like I hadn't had to deal with rain in forever. And we're all just dog tired. Like we had made it from the summit halfway down the mountain, and then we were another big chunk of the way down. And we're just in the middle of this valley. There's mountain walls on either side, and I'm hearing rock fall on either side. Kind of just sounds like little mini avalanches. And during that day, we're going to have to kind of traverse along a sidewall. So everyone was so tired. Everyone was hating it. Everyone wanted to go home, but no one wanted to get out of the tent. And like everyone was so pissy that morning. Everybody. And I'm like,
You're just over it, right?
And I'm like, get up, get out of the tent, let's do this. And my tent mates are like, no. So I get up and I'm helping cook. I'm like, get out. I want to get off of this glacier. I don't want to be roped to you guys anymore. Like, let's go. It took forever to get on the trail that day, but you do alpine starts when you're mountaineering, which means you take off before the sun rises. You know how hard that is to do in June?
Yeah.
It's like 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So that day, as like we finally get moving, everyone's just trudging along, hating it, and the sun starts rising up, and so there's wildfires everywhere, and there's low cloud cover just kind of right in front of us, and the sun just pops up right below the clouds, and it lights up the clouds, but there's so much smoke and all that like all of this alpenglow is lighting up the whole freaking sky. And it was just the most glorious thing that I had ever seen. I mean, the whole thing was like, it was reds and oranges and purple, and it just lit up. Like the photo that he has is not photoshopped at all.
Oh, hell no.
Can you send that to Brandon so we can throw it up on our feed?
Please do.
I have a video of it too, where I'm like stepping over crevasses and just kind of like making my way through the day. I had a camera around my neck so like I could like record a little bit, and if something happened, I could just drop it when fall. And I got photos of it. So that was,
it's a fascinating photo. Awesome. It just looks like there's just this like cloud of fire under where they're at. Mm-hmm. It looks fake, but it's real.
Yeah, and it's not photoshopped at all. It was
it's such a cool photo. Yeah. I remember walking in like, what is that? And Dana gave me that, and I'm like, oh, he just told me a few weeks ago he did Denali, and I put it together. I'm like, man, that is phenomenal. But
well, let's get into the gear. Let's get into.
Real quick, were we done with trivia? Was that it?
It's up to you guys.
Oh, let's do one more.
No, if you got one more.
All right.
Because once again, I lost, but I was over. But I was closest.
You were
happened
closest,
a lot.
So you're ahead. So I have two more. We can get through these ones quick. I'll give you
we'll go for it.
A simple one to get through. So there's one species of amphibian living in Denali Park. What is it?
The tree frog?
I'm going to just say a frog. Don't say frog.
Wood frog.
Yeah, I mean, what else
it's a
do
wood
we have
frog,
for,
I want to say, not tree frog, wood frog.
In Alaska? We don't have lizards. We don't have snakes.
The glacier snakes.
The glacier.
Yeah. So Daniel's right. It's the wood frog. So,
all right.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
This is that cool creature that during the winter,
That's pretty sick, though.
the wood frog freezes itself into a cryogenic state where its heart stops beating and lungs stop pumping. But in the spring, it thaws out.
Yep. We used to catch them as kids.
What an amazing creature.
Me and my brother.
Yeah,
used to go frogging all the time. Catching
wow.
them. Yeah.
All right. One more Denali question, then we're done.
Okay.
How many total square miles does Denali Park cover?
2 million, I'm going to say.
Denali Park?
Square miles.
Square miles. Okay, that's
What do you got, Dana?
square miles.
I want to say that I heard it was like 40,000 acres, but I feel like that's an underestimate. I'm going to do 20,000 square miles for no reason at all.
And you said how many?
I went over it. Can I change my answer?
Sure, go ahead. No, seriously, because I mean, if you say 40,000 square acres, I don't even know what that calculates out to. I tried to do some math. But
Square miles?
There's no way.
I'm going to say
Math is not.
160,000.
225,000.
Square miles.
Did I? Wait. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Well,
I mean, this
everyone
just goes
went
hand in-
way over.
This goes hand in hand with
That's
our
all of Alaska.
amazing knowledge of Alaskan
Or miles.
history.
What a square mile is.
Dana doubled it, so it's 9,446 or
Yep.
6 million acres.
Okay.
So I think that
Okay.
Oh.
Acre square miles threw me off.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, didn't carry
you
the
say
two.
square miles.
I didn't carry the two.
square,
and
square
strike.
mile.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you know, I would have thought about that.
I don't.
That was
Don't
it.
act
That
like you
was
didn't
it.
understand the question. Get out of here.
I was thinking metric.
I never.
I thought you were saying square meters.
thought this was Europe, bro.
All right, that's the questionnaire. That's the
Right
trivia
on,
guy's
man.
bad. That's the trivia.
Yeah.
Well, all once, you guys did good. You know?
I think it's actually really better that we just botch the fuck out of these things because, man, we're, you know, I don't know who does know the answers to any of this shit. Like, I don't
Dave
know.
Moore. That's it.
Yeah, Dave Moore.
with the
yeah.
comb over.
Yeah, Dave Moore knows.
1903, baby. 1903.
Guaranteed. I read about it once.
Okay, 100 pounds in the backpack. Walk us through from the bottom to the top. First of all, the first question I want to know is what sleeping bag do you got?
So
I have a second question follow up. Okay. Go ahead.
So I have a North Face sleeping bag, 15 below. I did bring a silk liner in there too, and then 2 sleeping pads. So one just normal blue foam roll up one, and then a double layer Thermarest that I still use to this day.
Nice.
I actually
Nice.
use both of those still to this day.
What's the R rating on that?
It's got to be 4, no?
Cold.
Trivia guy.
Yeah, what's R rating on that there, Dana?
So I did pick the one that was like double thick, and it had like a little separation wall in between it to help with it. But so if you're staying warm camping in the winter, you need to insulate yourself from the ground.
Yep.
Period.
They suck it right out of you.
So having 2 sleeping bags helped with that a lot. I keep on hearing different ways about doing it. I did the blue sleeping bag or the blue sleeping pad on the bottom and then my sleeping pad on top. A lot of people said to do it the other way so that you never end up risking popping your sleeping pad, which could be catastrophic on Denali.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, it didn't happen.
Better have some tenacious tape handy just in case, huh?
Yeah. So, and then as far as staying warm goes at night, because I did only have a 15 below sleeping bag, what we did every night was we boiled water because you have to, boiled snow to make water. So everyone filled up an Nalgene full of hot water, pretty much boiling hot water, or 2. And what we do is I would take one of those, and we have a little insulated Nalgene.
Like a sleeve?
Yeah. I would take one and throw it just in the foot of my sleeping bag while we're finishing up dinner or whatever else. And then if I had another one available that night, I would put it like between my legs. So the heat would just kind of residually come out from all that hot water and keep my feet warm at night. You're going to need the water any which way at some point. You can't drink it for that night because it's so hot.
Yeah.
So did that to help. And then, I mean, we got down jackets and down snow pants and stuff like that. So if it did get a little extra chilly, throw those over the sleeping bag as well. But for the most part, I slept just in a long sleeve and like my liner pants every night and stayed as warm as you could expect.
Yeah.
At no point did I feel like I was going to freeze to death. Very few times while I was on the glacier was I like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, I'm so cozy. Yeah.
Yeah. So sleeping is obviously you got to take that very seriously. You can buy the $8,000 2-degree bag, or 200 below bag or whatever. In the grand scheme of things, like just using your brain and planning ahead, eating enough calories to stay warm through the night makes a big difference. Going pee before you go to bed, your body doesn't have to heat that liquid all night long. There's also no place to, you don't want to get up to go pee in the middle of the night. It's cold. It's
and
cold.
dangerous. Just stepping out there. Of course, it's
so
bright out, as you
every
can
camp
see,
we
but-
had its own pisser and shitter. So you could do it, but the amount of layers you have to put back on to go out and do that in the middle of the night, like, just don't.
Do they have like a designated
hold
tent
it.
for that or something?
No,
Just
it's
the area.
a snow wall,
Okay, just to block the window.
and
a
then
little
there's an area for number 1, and then there's a bucket with a bag in it for number 2.
Who takes that down?
So on the west buttress, you literally have to pack all of your shit off the mountain. Literally. Turns out it doesn't melt. So after decades, it became a problem.
bit. Yeah.
Yep.
On the north side of Denali, it's not nearly as bad. We just had to make sure that it had to be in a bag, and we had to find a good, like, really deep crevasse to throw it in. But that's not allowed on the west buttress at all. You literally have to take that poop bucket with you the whole way. But yeah, so you just do not go to the bathroom at night. You figure it out, and you plan your meal, and you plan your drinking around that. Like
Yeah.
you
The
just,
timing of it all, your
Yeah.
bladder and all that.
some people bring like an extra pee bottle. So if you always got to go in the middle of the night and you can't hold it, that's an option as well. Just the risk of mixing that with filling up the wrong bottle or drinking out of the wrong bottle. Like,
Yeah.
What about the wide mouth Gatorade? Everyone knows that.
Yeah, exactly, man.
yeah. So yeah, you stay hydrated, but don't overhydrate. Eat plenty of food before bed because calories equals warmth.
Yeah.
Insulate yourself from the ground. Get hot water and put it in the sleeping bag. It makes a huge difference.
Nice. What tent are they using?
They were just Mountain Hardware mountaineering tents. They weren't
Okay.
they weren't like multi-$1,000 tents.
Just the mountain harder ones.
4-season tents. They need to have a vestibule in it, a big front one. So basically, when you're winter mountaineering, the front vestibule is really big, and you actually dig down. So like you kind of get out, and you can your feet can go below you, so you're kind of like on a bench.
Gotcha.
And that's where all the gear is stored. You can't put all the gear in there. So, and they're 3-man tents with 3 men in them. So it's cramped in there. So you got to have your systems dialed. Your changes of clothes need to be like set aside in a bag or some sort of carry sack. And like, you don't get into camp and just throw everything everywhere. Cause
It's not a yard sale?
every day you have to pack it all back up. And like, I don't know about you guys, but with that much weight on my back, I'm not carrying extra when I'm already carrying extra. It's like, I'm not taking your extra pants, bro.
Yeah, no, you're on your own. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of stuff sacks were used as well. The tents were just basic tents. They're 4-season tents, but there weren't anything crazy. And I used La Sportiva Barunse boots. I still got them. They're
Those are really yellow and red ones?
yellow and gray. They're a soft shell boot with a removable liner. So you take out the liner at night. I throw the liner in my sleeping bag with me. I take my socks off, wrap them around my torso. So I'll put them under my shirt, but wrap them around my torso because you need to keep it dry.
And that helps dry it out too.
Yeah. So when you're on Denali, you don't bring a whole bunch of extra socks. I had 3 pairs of socks and 2 pairs of underwear
It rotated them out.
the whole time.
Yep.
So you need to dry the shit out. You need to keep it clean and do whatever you can. Feet did get a little cold sometimes, but those things did really good. And then I had a lot of mountain hardware gear. So like if you're packing for a mountaineering trip or a hunting trip or something where you're going to be out for an extended period of time, the biggest thing I learned from all that is pack your layers only enough that you could put everything in your bag on at once. Don't pack 3 fleeces. Don't pack 3 pairs of blue jeans. Pack everything so that it makes sense where you can layer it up. So like, long johns and then liner socks, but then socks that go over those liner socks and maybe some extra thick socks for at night, and then pants, and then snow pants, and then the puffy snow pants. Same thing with the top. I had a tank top just to help with just with sweat. So have a tank top and then a really light moisture wicking long sleeve shirt. There's a quarter zip, and then over that kind of like a light to mid level quarter zip, and then a heavy zip fleece, and then a windbreaker, and then an actual shell, and then a puffy.
So you put the wind shell under.
Yeah, so like when you're up there, basically the idea is when you stop to take a break, you throw the puffy on over everything else, because you don't want to take off a bunch of layers to put on the puffy and then take it back off. So
you lose all your heat.
Yeah. So the puffy is the thing that goes on over everything.
It insulates you to keep you warm in that moment.
If I'm going to just hang out or watch a hockey game or something, I would put a puffy on under a shell. But in that situation, it goes on last.
Got it.
Interesting.
What's the puffy you got? Or you use then?
The one I had then was a Mountain Hardware, and it was like a XXL. And I think it was called a Belayman. It wasn't like a massive, really big puffy. It was big. It was well insulated. It was like an 800 gram insulation.
Okay.
But the idea is like, if you're stuffing your backpack full of stuff, really they should all work as a system, all together,
Absolutely.
as opposed to changes of clothes. I'm sure you guys have experienced, you pack all this stuff and go out on a hike or something, and you didn't use half of it.
Yeah.
So the
All the
idea is
time.
like, you should be able to load it all on you at one time, and if you have extras after that or it doesn't fit and you can't stack it all up, it's a bad system. So
Right.
I think that's pretty critical, and people spend a lot of time thinking about gloves and good socks and stuff like that, but if your feet are cold, you really need to warm up your legs, because the blood going through your legs gets to your feet. So better pants will cause less cold feet. Better insulated jackets will cause less cold hands. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been there where, you're out playing outside in the snow and you got a bunch of gear on, and like you don't need gloves all of a sudden, even though it's below zero. You're cooking heat.
It's a great point.
If you insulate, if you think about how far blood has to go through to get to your hands, like if it has time to get cold, by the time it gets there, it's all over.
Told you this dude's full shirt, dude.
Yeah.
He's got pro tips.
Dude, I did not screw around out there.
What was the pack? You said 100 pounds. You got your whole life in this thing.
So I had the Mountain Hardware BMG 105. BMG stands for Big Mountain Guide, and it was actually they worked
BMG.
with Alaska Mountaineering School to design a Denali pack.
Oh, sick.
Nice.
Right
So
on.
I got that pack. I still have that pack. I use that pack for nothing at all. It's
hanging on the wall.
It is so
Next to your picture
bomb-proof.
of you on Denali?
It's just canvas, and it's just like heavy-duty stitching. It's just bomber. But a 105-liter pack is just so excessive
That is major.
for most of the stuff, and like it just hurts.
For reference, like on the sheep hunt, it's like 70.
Yeah.
70.
Yeah, 7,200.
60,
I got a 65-liter pack.
60 to 80.
Yeah.
70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, what I've learned over the time is like the backpack does not need to be full. If you pack well, you don't need that giant backpack. If you have a giant backpack, you're gonna fill it.
Yeah, you're going to bring shit you don't need.
And then you're going to sit here with all the shit you don't need and resent it because you're not going to use it. And you just carried it this whole way. And
Yeah.
you're realizing how dumb you are at that moment. Be like, "Ugh,"
You just get at the back of the line and throw it down the crevasse.
right?
Was that pack necessary on this particular experience?
I mean, that
did
one, it was
Did
stuffed
you fill
full.
that sucker every time?
It was, I mean, it was stuffed full for the whole time that I was not on the glacier, which was 3 or 4 days on the front end and a day and a half on the back end.
Yeah.
So the rest of the time I had a haul sled so you can throw it in there.
Yeah,
But
drag it.
yeah, so I feel like when I go backpacking or I go for like a big tour on backcountry snowboarding or something, nowadays I lay out all of my gear the night before, with my backpack. I'll either do it in the garage or downstairs somewhere, lay out my socks and my lower body layers, my upper body layers, my gloves, my hats, my safety gear, everything. Lay it all out, take half of it away, and then look at it. And then maybe take another half of that, and then look at it. And be like,
Do I really need that?
and then go to bed. And then in the morning, the stuff you take out, be like, I really want that jacket. But never,
Sleep on it.
never have I, after deciding to throw something back in there, been like, woo, I needed that. Every time I go,
Why'd I bring that damn
I need
thing?
better. But also for me, I run really, really hot. I'm just a very warm-blooded individual. I thrive in the wintertime. I love it. I did half of my marathon training in less than 20 degrees and less. So like I'm built for it. So for me, a lot of my gear choices are built around sweat mitigation. I'm trying to stay cool. I'm trying to stay dry as I can. And so I pick a lot of things that are very breathable and a lot of things that are really more like running or cardio related than
Maybe
like
on the
mountaineer.
thinner side too.
Thinner,
Yeah.
more moisture wicking, more breathable stuff. Because ultimately, wet equals cold. Wet equals cold every freaking time. You'll not find a single cotton thing in my entire pack when I go out into the backcountry. It's just the most worthless thing ever for that.
That's a guarantee.
Right on.
So being into mountain running, how did your son at Denali affect you getting into mountain running or impact that?
So as of recently, I've kind of just started to identify with being an endurance athlete. I've done one marathon. I'm training for another marathon. I've done the Lost Lake run before, and a lot of it was just going up to the mountains for exercise. So going up flat top, and I made it up pretty good. I want to try and do it faster next time, and then faster next time, and then faster next time. Where, it's different. I mean, I've always loved snowboarding. I've always loved to go fast.
Yeah.
Anything that has a throttle, I'm gonna go fast with. So it's just kind of a natural progression of things. My wife is actually running Mount Marathon this year.
Nice.
Are
they going to do it this year?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
nice.
so doing it on a Wednesday.
Okay.
So there's not going to be as much
Massive
fanfare.
crowds. Yeah.
Yeah, but and a big part of it was my wife Jenna just dragging me out because she is really into it. Her dad's
Okay.
been a mountain runner. This is going to be his 32nd year doing mountain marathon.
Nice.
He's actually done Denali 3 times. Like I said, I can't go anywhere. I was like, oh yeah, Denali.
Yeah, cool story,
Has
bro.
he ever done your route?
No.
Yeah, see, that's
So
what
that-
you got over all these other
That got
fools,
me in
man.
good with the old man. He's like, the Muldrow. I'm like, yeah. He's like, wow.
Are you going to put a ring on her finger or what?
Yeah, so like I said, Jenna and her dad are running Mount Marathon, and her brother. So they're all like, they've grown up their whole
family
life
affair,
watching their
yeah.
old man run this race. So now that they're getting older and they love doing that, I prefer to either just casually go up a mountain and go back down, or go for runs on somewhat flat ground. The idea of running down a mountain, I've gotten pretty good at it, but it's just playing with fire, man.
Yeah.
It's just playing with fire.
A lot of room for error there, huh?
Yeah.
Where can people find, you have a Facebook or Instagram or anything?
I have a Facebook that I don't get on a whole lot as much as I used to, but I do have a really good photo album, like 90 photos from the Denali trip.
Oh, okay.
That's public, so you can see that on my
sick.
Facebook
Okay,
page. I never got on Instagram. I never got on any other ones. I think once Instagram came out, I got on that for a little bit. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, another one came out. I'm like, you know what?
I'm going back to
Can't keep up
MySpace.
with this.
I tried to find my old MySpace profile, and it's all like completely gone. I was like, man, I would love to see how bad that was.
So is the Instagram Dana Wright?
I deleted it.
You deleted it?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean the Facebook.
Yeah.
st-
Dana, I think it's Dana K. Wright.
Dana K. Wright, WRIGHT.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If people want to go on there and find the pictures.
Yeah, he does have a really cool page and a lot of his hikes and Jenna and the dogs and you guys doing your adventures.
Yeah, we're all over Alaska all the time. We're picking off mountains all summer long, all winter long.
You guys
We're
do really cool trips, man.
Yeah, we travel all over the place. I mean, got no kids, got 3 dogs and a camper, so we get after it.
Yep.
So that's always fun. I am pretty lucky. Pretty lucky to live up here, and I thrive in Alaska. Maybe I'd thrive anywhere else, but I feel like I'm just built for this place.
Built
You
for
are,
Alaska.
you know?
Yeah.
You are.
That's great.
Yeah.
You mind if people hit you up if they have questions, if maybe they're considering
Yeah.
doing a Denali climb or any type of mountaineering questions? Okay, that's great. And we'll definitely post a bunch of those pictures on the Instagram
Yeah,
page.
we'll pull a bunch of stuff off there.
When the show drops. So if you're listening today, go to our Instagram page. There'll be pictures of Dana's climb. And as usual, the YouTube page as well shows a lot of the pictures and the routes and the tent and all the gear that's going on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to hit you up about that Grace Ridge climb because I want to go do that. Go hike out
Oh
there
man,
across
Grace
from
Ridge
Homer.
is so cool.
Where's that one at?
It's across the bay from Homer, and like it's just this ridge hike. You just go from one side to the other, and you're looking over like Tutka Bay and Sadie Cove, or maybe that's not right, but it's in between 2 bays, and you're just going up this like ridge that goes between them, and you're just looking out at mountains and ocean, and it is just.
Oh, there's probably
Freaking
goats
cool.
and critters and things like that to see.
Jen and I went down there for 5 days last year, and we knocked out a bunch of hikes, went out to the Gruint Glacier and Sadie Cove, and we were in Homer for 5 days of uninterrupted, beautiful, sunny weather.
Can't beat
no wind, no rain. I don't know what the heck happened, but it's pretty much never going to happen again, so we've already just like written that one off.
Yep.
But
Yep. One and done.
Grace Ridge actually has a race.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Jenna was trying to get me to do that, but it's like a week before the marathon.
Okay.
And I'm like, no. She's like, why not? I'm like, no. I spent 4 months training for this thing. I'm not going to like blow an ankle right before that.
Yeah.
But they raced that one too. So apparently like the mountain running community is definitely growing a lot.
Yeah, that's way cool.
That's cool, man.
Where do you stay when you go over there? Did you go stay on the end of the harbor and just go, or then and go each day?
Yep.
Out? Okay.
Yeah, we so during that time it was COVID, so there's like nobody out there. So renting a water taxi was very easy.
Yeah.
Turns out corralling 3 dogs onto a water taxi, keeping them from pissing off anyone else on the water taxi, and then getting them off of it on the other side
Much harder.
is a challenge. I did it twice in a row.
You guys take those dogs everywhere.
Yeah. I mean,
They
they're-
gotta come.
They're gonna go wherever we're gonna go,
yeah.
and like
It's amazing.
if they got to hang out for the day while we're out doing something because they can't come hang, they're cool because we exercise them so much that they don't really have a whole lot of time to be neurotic or a pain in the butt. So,
And hopefully they bark at black bears.
man, my dogs. I was going to tell you, my dogs do not.
Oh, they
They do not. All 3 of them will be running or biking or something like that, and they'll just like run right by a moose. Look over, hey moose, and just keep on going, and then we'll come face to face with it. Like they won't even like stop. Their ears won't perk up. They're just like, oh, it's just a big dog, and they'll keep on going. So no, they're wildly unhelpful on that. So, I would have been in the same position that you would have been. Yeah, actually.
They might have just ran up and sniffed its butt just
Right.
to check it out.
Well, that would have actually been pretty helpful.
Give you a chance to back up out of there.
Right?
Well, Dana, thanks for sharing your amazing story and your awesome, man, deeply rooted Alaskan family.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just amazing. That's a great story.
Man.
Great experience.
The whole thing fell into my lap. So I don't want people to think that I'm some sort of guy that set out to do this his whole life. Is just like an opportunity like that shows up and you can either go for it or not.
Yeah.
Well, timing
Glad
is,
I did it.
Timing is, it's such a cliche, but it's everything. I mean, it was meant to happen for you in that moment, and you went after it, and now you have a life experience to share with all of us that most of us won't do, and the story is amazing, and it's a one of a kind because everybody has their different experience.
I agree.
So
It
it was beautiful, man.
Yeah. It revitalizes this piece of Alaska history that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's awesome to all of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I don't know that. I know there's a big community that's into that, but it's not. It doesn't carry the popularity of a lot of other Alaskan adventures and activities. I bet there's probably some people out there would be like, "What are you talking about?" There's a lot of people that know about this, but for me in general, a lifelong Alaskan, I was never into climbing or that kind of thing. And when you told me your story, I was like, man, we got to get this guy on. This is what Alaska's all about. This is something that's extreme. This isn't just the dude that goes and hikes flat top. That's a pretty tough run just to do a day trip up flat top. No disrespect to that. But this is the top dog shit of Alaska. I mean, level. That's it. That's it. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, Dana. You're great, man.
That was fun.
Yeah,
appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, and check in next week. Check out our Patreon, Dude's Day, Other's Choice, our sponsors, our website. Thank you. We appreciate you. We love you, Alaska.
You remember my speaking to you of what I call your overcautiousness. Are you not overcautious when you assume that you cannot do what the enemy is constantly doing?
Total Truck Accessory Center. Go check them out at 7700 Homer Drive. They're your one-stop shop for canopies, spray-in bed liners, LED light bars, and more. Total Truck.
TheTreehouseAK.com. Located at 341 Boniface Parkway. They're your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bartender today what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance. Cutting lawns, but not cutting quality. Hit them up at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also got a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out, doubleshovelcider.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located across from the 4th Avenue Theater in front of the historical building. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. Get yourself a legit reindeer dog.
Tailored Restoration, helping Alaskans restore their dreams. Voted #1 in the state since 1972. Water restoration, fire restoration, remodeling, cleaning, anything that you have to do with your home, inside and outside, give those guys a call or check out tailoredrestoration.com.